Okay. Hi, my name is Sierra. I'm here with Team Aries. I'm the captain of GigaBots, and today we're going to be having an interview with them.
All right. My name's Elias Malik. I'm the team captain.
I'm Sam Cohan. I do CAD and outreach.
I'm Samantha Senajon, and I do design and build.
I'm August Hastings, and I do designing and animation.
I'm Alessandra Wenzel, and I do outreach coordination.
Okay, so to start off with the questions, I wanted to know if you guys have any advice you guys would like to give to rookie teams starting off in FTC.
I think I would say to try to watch a lot of videos of other teams and try to get into the community as a whole because it's really hard to build any effective designs if you're completely working on yourself instead of getting inspiration from other people who are more experienced.
Do you have any advice on the non-technical side of it, like the outreach or the social media?
Documentation is a very good thing because you can see different things as you go forth. Even if you're not going to post it or release it to the public, it's good to see what you've been working on, whether it works or not compared to other things. So just lots of documentation is very good for you to look back on.
And what are some high and lows you guys have had for your team throughout the seasons?
Well, we've been working on basically three different types of robots through this, and we were meant to have like the one we built first, which was when we did a 24-hour challenge on the first league meet, and then our second robot on the second league meet, and our third on the third and stuff. But we ran into some problems with the second robot, so we had to use our 24-hour one for that one too. So that would probably be one of the lows. But now we're working on it, and it's we're trying to make the third robot now, and it seems to be going a lot better so far than the first. So I guess that would be one of the higher points.
So how do you guys, when you guys make the new robots, do you guys assemble the robots or do you just use whole new materials?
So our goal is basically to have one robot that we know works always on standby, and then we're prototyping on a new robot or creating the finalized version. And once that design becomes proven, we take apart the one that was on standby and then do the process again for the new bot.
Oh, okay. And so do you guys keep your robots from the previous seasons?
I mean, kind of. So we, for our 24-hour challenge and our early season robot, were reusing parts pretty heavily from last year's World Championship robot. But now we're past that iteration, and so we aren't really using it anymore.
We had to disassemble our robot for parts, because our budget was cut in half a lot. And I think there was Viper slides that we needed on our robot, and we had to take apart the robot that we took to Worlds. So that was really sad. But do you guys have any sister teams that you guys have to share your materials with?
We have two other teams at our school, but overall, our budgeting is pretty good, and we've been around for long enough where we have enough parts where it's not really that big of an issue.
So you guys are building three different robots out the season. How do you guys manage your time efficiently?
That's kind of a hard question to answer because our time is pretty much fully dedicated to robotics on the majority of everything we do. We heard we were gonna have winter break and it's gonna be 2 weeks long, and we said 2 weeks of robotics. So that's what we're doing. So pretty much nonstop, we've been working on 3D printing, prototyping, working in each other's houses to get the robot built and moving from there. So from a time management perspective, we've just been rushing as fast as we can to get everything
Actually
done.
doing fusion like a couple seconds before this, like right up until the 2 o'clock moment. So
I have Fusion open in the window next to this, so
Do you guys have your guys' personal 3D printer at home?
I have two of them, but we also have three at the school. And we tend to use my 3D printer just because it's more accessible that way. We can access it whenever we need to. We don't have to get access to the whole school and all that. So yeah.
Questions? I'm gonna move on to the technical questions. So do you guys believe that there's some materials that you think every team should have, like the necessities and the essentials?
well, I would say obviously your control hub and your expansion hub. And our team personally, we use a driver hub instead of phones, which we do recommend because it's a lot easier than managing the phones, which was I don't know how long ago we stopped using them, but yeah. A collection of motors, I suppose, different RPMs and whatnot.
And I know a lot of teams might look at it as something that's kind of expensive, but having access to a relatively decent 3D printer is huge and opens up a whole realm of new stuff that you're able to do. And there's some pretty good ones these days that aren't that expensive in the realm of robotics prices.
Definitely. Do you guys have a laser cutter?
We don't have a laser cutter, but we got a CNC this year.
Is there a certain part of the robot you think everyone should know how to build, like mechanisms or the chassis?
I don't really know if it's fair to bring it down to a single part because I feel like design of any mechanism on the robot is very similar to each other. In terms of if you learn how gears work, you can apply it to both an intake and an outtake. If you learn how belts work, you can apply it to a drivetrain and an intake and whatever. I mean, they all kind of transfer. So just knowing a bunch of basic mechanisms. I mean, I used to be really passionate about watching some of those like Lego Technic videos where they show all the cool little mechanisms and the different couplers and all that sort of stuff. So just learning more and asking questions and finding out about everything you can is the best way to build the best robot, I'd say.
So how would you guys recommend rookie teams learn how to build?
I mean, like watching tutorials and other teams is helpful, but I think there's a certain point where you just have to do it and make a lot of projects that aren't related to the robot. I think that's where it's the easiest to learn is if you're doing stuff out of the season, because then you don't have to be as worried about like FTC rules and your timelines, and you can really work on making super effective, cool mechanisms and learning along the way instead of just having to try to make something that's good enough.
And how would you recommend rookie teams learn how to code?
There's a few options online in terms of just like Java programming. So I forget the name of it, but there's stuff like CodeHS, things like that. Khan Academy also has some programming courses, but just in general, learning the Java language as a whole is important before you even dive into the FTC side of things, because from there it'll mostly transfer.
And now to our outreach questions. Out of all your guys' outreach approaches, which has been the most and the successful for your guys' team personally?
One of the things that we've been really focusing on this year is mentorship within our league. So we've been helping some of the middle schools and trying to get more robotics and STEM related things in the elementary schools. And that has been really effective. And we have kids who are now like, oh, robotics is an option for once I get to 7th or 8th grade or once they get into high school. So that has been really effective at building our program and keeping like a legacy for the future.
And adding on to the mentorship stuff, we've also been able to work with some teams in Kazakhstan. And we're working on starting new teams, both FTC and FLL there, and expanding their first programs. So that's been a pretty cool thing to be able to do.
So what has worked best for marketing for you guys' outreach projects, like word of mouth or Instagram, or what works best for you guys?
We primarily have been using Instagram as one of our main platforms, but also when we have activities that happen in person, like at our public library, we might put up a flyer, or if there's like a fair of some sort, we might put up a flyer. So word of mouth and then Instagram are usually how we get our information out there.
What's your approach to outreach? Do you guys like to do small, frequent events, or do you guys like to do larger, more spaced out events?
We do kind of a mix. So we have smaller outreach where we like work with other teams, or we might have something for like the local kids, like elementary schoolers. And then sometimes we have little workshops that happen at the library. We're working on setting up another one soon where they don't happen as frequently, but usually we try and have like a larger group of people just because like time and materials and such.
What kind of workshops have you guys done?
I did one kind of I like relating to airplanes because when the season opened, we were like, oh, that's pretty cool. So I ran a little workshop about how you can modify them to get different just results out of what you were wanting to do. So add more weight, see if it goes farther, see if bending different things.
Yeah, we actually had an airplane making contest this year at our local park. We didn't have too many kids showed up. I think we had like 7, but it was really fun, and the winner got like a little plushie. It's really fun to see like how the kids like adapt and like innovate their origami or their designs. So how long does it typically take to plan an outreach event for you guys?
For the smaller ones, lots of it is just the time between contacting and trying to figure out a time of what we want to do. Like I worked with one of our local elementary schools, and a lot of it was just back and forth with the emails trying to find a time. But usually if we have an idea, we can get it going pretty quickly. If it's a bigger project, it'll take a little bit longer or quite a bit longer depending on all the variables that you have to find, but usually a pretty short amount of time.
When you guys collaborate with the elementary schools, do you guys have them going to your campus or do you go to theirs?
Usually we head to their campus. With the middle schools, we go to their robotics room. With elementary schools, I go there in the morning and then I do that with them. Usually they don't come to our campus.
What is your takeaway from First Robotics? What skills have you learned that you think you will implement into your life outside of high school?
Well, I've learned a lot about like drafting specifically and also building and a lot of like last minute problem solving because we've had to do a bunch of scuff things with like mostly zip ties and tape and things. And it's just like basically a lot of problem solving skills with that and all the actual engineering principles and like drafting and building and all that kind of thing.
I've gotten a few things to take away from first. Mostly, I just really like working with people, so my people skills have definitely gotten better. And explaining different concepts to like working with Lego robotics because I got to do that with some of our elementary schools. That like taught me a little bit about what they utilize and what they decide to do. So there's a lot of problem solving there, and then also just getting to interact with people.
How did Worlds impact you guys? Like, how was your guys' experience there?
I thought it was pretty good as a whole. I mean, just going there was a lot of fun. And then we competed and did fairly well. Although the robot was kind of new when we went to Worlds, so we had kind of done a complete redesign since state to be competitive. And unfortunately, we didn't have enough drive practice under our belt to really pull through to be one of the alliance selections, though we were considered. And so just something that we want to improve on next year is we want to make sure we have enough drive practice to really be able to make the robots' abilities shine. Because later on in the year, like during scrimmages after Worlds, we were able to do a lot better than we did at Worlds. So
I think mechanically we were very competitive. I mean, as you can see from our awards, but on the like just time side, we didn't have enough to get the weeks of drive practice and autonomous that we would have liked to be able to have going into the competition.